In this video, I'm going to show you guys a trick in a very common chess opening that could even catch higher rated players off guard. I used this trick recently in a game at the Marshall Chess Club in an over-the-board tournament and caught an 1800-ish chess player and had a serious advantage within 14 moves. This is a trick that I discovered. I'm not saying I invented it. I'm just saying I discovered it myself when I was playing years back. I've never seen it anywhere else, so I figured I would share it with you guys in case you don't know about it. Anyway, let's dive in. Let's take a look. Okay, so this game started out in a typical Sicilian opening fashion, e4, c5. d6 signifies that he's probably going to play the Sicilian dragon variation. However, spoiler alert, that did not happen. My opponent actually played the knight off. So a6 is the knight off, and, it's protecting the b5 square. Okay, so I play bishop c4, bishop e3, and here's a little bonus tip I'll give you guys. So this is not what the video is about, but there is another trick in this opening that I will share with you guys. Let's just call it a bonus tip. All right, so a lot of players here would play bishop d3 because they're concerned with the fact that the knight is hitting this pawn. The only thing defending it is this knight, so they're afraid of something like the pawn coming here and dislodging the knight. For instance, they'll play this because if this does happen, then when the knight moves, you're still defending the pawn. However, in this position, I just play bishop b3. And in this game, I in fact play bishop b3. Now, this doesn't matter. You might think, well, what about if they kick out your knight? You simply play knight a4. And if they take, you just simply play knight e6. Not simply. It's not hard to find that move. But if you know it, then you know it. So the reason why we can play this is because, well, black can take back in two different ways. If black takes with the pawn, we just play knight b6, attack the rook, and the only square for the rook to get out of the way is a7, and then we would have this attacking the rook, and we get material back. The other and better way to take back is with the bishop, but then we have bishop d5, hitting both the knight and rook, so we're going to get material back. If they take our bishop, we replace it with the queen, and again have that same fork, and we get material back with a better position. So for that reason, b4 doesn't work. b4 with the idea of taking the pawn, I should say. But my opponent is a good player and did not even go for such nonsense, which I've seen 2100 players do against me. So, that's kudos to my opponent. So I play f3. My opponent's plays bishop b7, attacking the king side. So I prepare to castle queenside. Okay, so knight c6, I castle queenside. My opponent develops his queen. Always play king b1 when you castle queenside. And now my opponent plays h5, which is indicative of what you would do when you stop a kingside attack with the pawns. So basically, if I go castle queenside, one of my plans is to launch an attack with the pawns kingside. So after h4, usually that provokes h5. Now, my opponent just played it now, so he played it in a different move order, which is fine, but just unnecessary. So I play h4 myself. And now this is the critical position, believe it or not. This is move 14, and my opponent here made a mistake. Now, in this is a very common position. This is the knight off. This is like the position that you get when the king is not castled and you have this pawn structure, right? And then the queen's going to be either here or here, most likely. We have a trick here. Now, it looks like, I'm sure you guys can see that we have a potential sacrifice. So takes, hitting the queen and hitting this pawn. It doesn't work, though, when the knight is hitting this knight. So, for example, if black played a random move, this would not work because black has this in-between move, not takes back right away, but takes the knight. And then we could throw in another in-between move to get a pawn and then take the knight. But we're still down material, and it's not a really good sacrifice. But if the knight is never hitting this knight, we can go for the sacrifice. And that's exactly what happened here. And in fact, black in this position played knight a5, and he played knight a5 because he's actually a good player. So knight a5 is a common way to trap the bishop. So he saw that he can trap the bishop and get the bishop for knight here. And the bishop is integral for my offense as well as my defense. So he played that because he is a good player. A beginner, intermediate player probably wouldn't play that move. However, it's incorrect here, and this now allows me to play the sacrifice because the knight is no longer hitting the knight on d4. So I deployed my sacrifice. Now, I found this sacrifice. I discovered it myself years back on online chess, just fooling around, playing games. I'm not saying I invented it. This could be a known sacrifice. There could be a name for it and everything. I just never seen it out there on the internet, online, or in books. So I feel like I should share it with you guys because maybe if I never seen it and I just found it myself, maybe you guys don't know about it. So, and my opponent didn't know about it, and he was a strong player. So already, as you can see, white is better here. White is over +1 here. And the point of this sacrifice is I get 2 pawns off the bat for the bishop. I'm attacking the queen and this pawn. Now, my opponent should, regardless of where he moves, he's not in a good spot. Well, he can't go there, but regardless. But he shouldn't go to c4 because the knight wants to go to c4. And that's exactly where he went. He went to c4. But even if he didn't go to c4, he would have been in trouble. Okay, so the point of the sacrifice is I get 2 pawns, and now because you're hitting the queen, after the queen moves, you get a 3rd pawn, so you got 3 pawns for the piece, which is already material-wise equal or equal-ish. And that's the first thing. The second thing is now your opponent forfeits his right to castle. That's 2. Third, after this, we retreat the knight back to f5, which is an excellent square for the knight in most positions, especially in this one because there's no pawns on the G and E file to kick the knight out. And fourthly, we left black with the isolated pawn that we're probably going to scoop up. So already in this position, we're over +2, and black is in trouble. It's not an easy position to play. So white is already winning. Okay, so my opponent just guarded the pawn here, which looks good, but it's not good because I have bishop b6, hitting the rook and knight. My opponent played the clever queen b4. So here he's threatening stuff like, let's say I take the rook. He's threatening stuff like this. So he would hit my queen and checkmate, so I'd have to play a passive move like that. I didn't want to play like that, so I found a3 here. And now the only square for the queen is this, but it just drops a piece cleanly. So my opponent found a clever way out of it. He actually sacked the queen and then threw in this check, got the queen back, and now I could take the knight, but I first took the rook because the rook's bigger piece. Why not? Then I took the knight, and then after bishop c8, I just didn't want my opponent to mess up my pawn structure, so I took the bishop, which is one of the only pieces covering this weak pawn. And then after black takes back, I doubled my rooks. Now, this video is based on, the whole purpose of this video is the sacrifice I showed you in the knight off. But you might be asking, how do you play it from here? I can't tell you exactly what your opponent's going to play, but I'll just show you the end of this game for the sake of the video, just to show you what my opponent played and how I finished it. So my opponent really has no good plan here, so he's just shuffling around. And I just came over here. Now, I could have took the bishop. That would have been fine, too. I just wanted to throw in a check and hoping my opponent would take this knight, and I would start getting passed pawns, which is what happened. So I played G4. He took, and I have 3 passed pawns. My opponent played knight b6, trying to come to c4 to fork my king and rook. So I just moved my rook out of the way of the check, throw in another check, and double my rooks on the e file. I get out of the way of the check, and I just start pushing my passed pawns, and after g6, my opponent resigned. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that video. Hopefully it was helpful. It's a very common chess opening you'll see. So, and a lot of players don't know about that trap. They fall into it, even good players, as you can see from the video. Anyway, if you do like this video and the other videos, please make sure you like, comment, or subscribe. It helps promote the channel and allows me to make more videos. Anyway, get out of here. Go play some chess.